Without Putin, the war in Ukraine would likely end, and overthrowing him was entirely possible several years ago, but the idea failed to gain support, according to Ilya Ponomarev. Since ending the war with Ukraine's defeat is unthinkable, the only option left is diplomacy once an acceptable compromise has been reached. The Russian opposition leader spoke about what could have happened in Russia, but never did. Regarding whether a meeting between Trump and Putin on ending the war in Ukraine could actually take place, the former Russian State Duma deputy said, "Sooner or later, it will happen. It's obvious that any war ends with negotiations. We've said repeatedly that, theoretically, there are exactly 3 ways out of this war. Either overthrow Putin, which, in my view, was feasible and achievable, but to achieve this, we needed to actively pursue this issue in 2021 and 2022. Unfortunately, your humble servant was crying in the wilderness. No one systematically supported this idea, and the Americans simply systematically opposed it," he said. "The other option for ending the war is Ukraine's defeat. Clearly, that's not an option for us, and we don't believe it. The third scenario is that some kind of negotiations will take place and some kind of compromise will emerge. Here, we need to ensure that this compromise is acceptable to us," the Russian opposition leader concluded. Ponomarev explained what was wrong with the strikes on the oil refinery. "We need not only to target oil refineries, but also find a way to reach Russians who need to be terrified and understand that war has come to them. But so far, they feel nothing of the sort," said Ilya Ponomarev. "In this case, terrified Russians will shake the dictator's throne." A Russian opposition figure explained why striking the refinery alone isn't enough. Damage? Yes, there is damage, but it's financial damage. There's no harm to the population. The interruptions at gas stations, firstly, are far from the first time, and they weren't just due to the war. Secondly, these interruptions are temporary. They come and go. Of course, these interruptions will end, so the population watches them as if they were a picture on television, and that's the biggest problem, because the Russians will be striking targets that every ordinary Ukrainian will feel. Then Ilya Ponomarev advised the Ukrainians on how to proceed. They're trying to influence public opinion. That is, they're trying to make Ukrainian society weary to start demanding that their rulers end the war. At the moment, we're not doing anything that has any political significance. We're doing things that have military significance, not political. This, I believe, is the biggest shortcoming of the Ukrainian defense forces. What we've been saying all along, that Russians' resistance should begin, and whether there are ways to influence the elite, could be an attack on Rubliovka, on individual governors, on individual officials. Creating an atmosphere of fear within the Russian elite is absolutely within the power of the Ukrainian special services.
For Sydney, men have been charged with criminal offences over their alleged involvement in the distribution of child sexual abuse material linked to an international child sex abuse ring, police said Monday. According to Associated Press, a New South Wales State Police task force identified the Sydney-based network while investigating the online distribution of encrypted child sexual abuse material involving ritualistic and satanic themes, Detective Superintendent Jane Doherty said. "There's no run-of-the-mill child abuse, it's all abhorrent child abuse," Doherty told reporters. But these ones were particularly devastating in that they use symbols and rituals around their discussions that they were having about abusing children. "It had a very ritualistic overview," she added. Police executed multiple warrants around Sydney last Thursday and 4 men were arrested. Police also seized electronic devices allegedly containing thousands of videos depicting the abuse of children from babies to 12-year-olds. Police will allege in court that this international group were engaging in conversations and the sharing of material which depicted child abuse and the torture of children involving symbols and rituals linked to Satanism and the occult, Doherty said. Doherty said police did not believe that the defendants recorded any of the abuse material that they shared. Police were working with their international partners to identify the victims, where they had been abused and their abusers, Doherty said. No victim had been identified by Monday, she said. Elsewhere in Asia, met fire safety requirements, why windows were covered with foam panels, and why fire alarms did not sound. Already police have arrested 3 people, the directors of a construction company and an engineering consultant, and Hong Kong's anti-corruption authorities have arrested a further 8, including scaffolding subcontractors, directors of an engineering consulting company and the renovation project managers.
Strikeforce Constantine was established in April 2025 by the Sex Crime Squad to investigate a syndicate of pedophiles who were operating on encrypted international platforms, sharing abhorrent child abuse material. Police will allege in court that this international group were engaging in conversations and the sharing of material which depicted child abuse and the torture of children, involving symbols and rituals linked to Satanism and the occult. In November 2025, we were made aware of a group of men in Sydney who were part of that larger international group, who were communicating with each other and were also sharing explicit child abuse material across that international group. Due to the nature of the material that they were sharing and the conversations that we became aware of, we were concerned about any children that these people may come in contact with. As a result of that, we executed 5 simultaneous search warrants on Thursday the 27th of November 2025 across Waterloo, Malabar and Ultimo. During those search warrants, we arrested 4 males and seized a number of electronic devices. Police will allege in court that the initial examination of those devices has discovered thousands of videos depicting the abuse of live children aged between babies and 12 years of age. Amongst these deplorable images were also a number of videos depicting the sexual abuse of animals. The males were charged with numerous counts of sharing and distributing and possessing child abuse material. The 4 males were bail refused and will next appear at the Downing Centre local court on the 27th and 29th of January 2026.